When I was 11 years old, my dad, Martin, left us without a word. No goodbye. No explanation. Just a half-empty closet, a silent house, and a mom whose eyes looked 10 years older overnight. That morning is still burned into my brain. I had just come back from school after a spelling test I was weirdly proud of, only to find my mom sitting on the kitchen floor in her uniform, still wearing her grocery store name tag, crying into a cup of cold coffee. I asked where Dad was. She didn't answer at first. Just stared at the wall and whispered, "He's gone." Gone. Just like that. For years, we heard nothing. No birthday cards. No child support. No, "Hey, how's my son doing?" Nothing. My mom, Angela, became everything. She worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3. I'd do homework in the back of her night shift at the laundromat, folding towels and solving equations at the same time. My little brother, Jamie, barely remembered Dad at all. I basically became his father figure, whether I liked it or not. Fast forward 15 years, I'm 26 now, living in a small apartment with my fiancée, trying to build a life that doesn't carry the weight of the past. I hadn't thought about Martin in years, not really. Then, on a random Tuesday afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. Normally, I ignore those. But some weird instinct, made me answer. "Hello," I said, suspicious. There was a pause. Then a voice I hadn't heard in a decade and a half spoke. "Ethan?" I froze. My legs went numb. My heart dropped into my stomach. "Who is this?" I already knew the answer. I just couldn't believe it. "It's your dad." I nearly dropped the phone. What followed was a short, awkward, disorienting conversation. He told me he was sick. Stage 4 liver cancer. That he didn't have anyone else. That he was hoping I'd talk to him. Maybe help. Help? The word felt poisonous coming from him. Help? Like when I needed help learning to ride a bike and he bailed on me for a guy's weekend. Or when Jamie broke his arm and Mom cried outside the ER because she didn't know how she was going to pay the bill. Help like that? I hung up without saying much. And then I sat in my car for almost an hour. Just frozen. Every angry memory started flooding back. Every time I needed a father and didn't have one. Every time I caught my mom silently crying in the bathroom while she thought we were asleep. Every time Jamie asked, "Do you think Dad misses us?" And now, 15 years too late, Martin suddenly remembered we existed? Later that night, I told my mom about the call. She was quiet, calm even, but I could see it in her eyes. She was furious. Not at me, just at the situation. At him. At the fact that even now, he still had the audacity to crawl back into our lives when it was convenient for him. She said, "It's your decision, Ethan. I won't stop you. But you don't owe him anything. Not one damn thing." Jamie, on the other hand, didn't mince words. "Screw him," he said. "If I saw him on the street, I'd cross to the other side." And honestly, I felt the same. But also not entirely. Because here's the thing. As much as I hate him, as much as I want to erase every memory of him, there's this part of me, a stupid, human part, that wonders if I'd regret not doing something. Not hearing him out. Not facing him at least once. Is that closure? Is that weakness? I don't even know anymore. But the idea of him dying alone, it weighs on me in a way I didn't expect. I haven't told my fiancée everything yet. She knows the basics, but I haven't dropped the bomb that I'm considering seeing him. Because if I do, I don't know if I'll come back with answers, or just more wounds. I don't know what I'll do next. But I can't lie, something's pulling me toward him. Maybe it's not forgiveness. Maybe it's not love. Maybe I just want to see the man who left us for dead, now that death has come for him. 2 days passed. I didn't sleep much. My fiancée, Nina, kept asking what was wrong. I just told her work stress. That was a lie. The real stress had a name, a voice, and a terminal illness. I finally told her the truth over takeout. I didn't plan to, it just slipped out. My dad called. Her chopsticks froze midair. "Your dad? The one who—" "Yeah," I said. "That one." She asked if I was okay. I wasn't. But I told her I was anyway. I didn't want her to carry the weight of my family's broken history. That burden already lived inside me, like a tumor I'd grown used to. "I might meet him," I said, barely above a whisper. She didn't judge me. Nina's like that. Her dad left when she was young too, but he never tried to come back. She told me once that part of her still wondered what she'd say to him if he ever did. "You don't know him a damn thing," she said gently, "but if you think you'll need this for yourself, I'll support you." So I called him. I didn't save his number, so I had to dig through my recent calls and hope he'd pick up. He did. On the second ring. "Ethan," he said, as if we were old friends. "I'll come see you," I said. Once. He started crying. I didn't. He gave me the address to a small hospice facility in a town about an hour away. I looked it up afterward. It was nothing special, kind of depressing actually. Pale beige walls, peeling paint, looked like the kind of place you'd go to disappear quietly. The visit was set for Saturday. Until then, I couldn't stop replaying what I might say. I wanted to go in strong, controlled. I wanted to ask the questions that had haunted me for over half my life. Why did you leave? Why didn't you call? Why did you make us think we did something wrong? But the truth is, I was scared. What if he didn't have good answers? What if he did? Would that make it worse? I talked to Mom again. She was quiet while I spoke, just nodding, eyes glazed like she was reliving it all in real time. When I finished, she reached across the table, squeezed my hand, and said, "Don't go there looking for peace. Go for the truth, even if it's ugly." I don't know why that hit me so hard. Maybe because I realized then I wasn't going for him. I was going for the little boy in me who never got to scream. Saturday came fast. I parked outside the hospice and sat in my car for 10 full minutes, just breathing, trying to get control of the tornado in my chest. I walked in, told the nurse who I was. She didn't smile, just nodded and pointed down the hall. "He's in room 114, she said. "Been asking about you every day." I hated that he suddenly had the right to miss me. The hallway smelled like antiseptic and weak coffee. I passed a woman with a portable oxygen tank who smiled at me like I was her grandson. My legs felt like they were made of cinder blocks. When I got to room 114, the door was cracked open. He looked small, shrunk somehow. The man who used to lift me onto his shoulders and make me feel like the tallest kid in the park now looked like he was dissolving into the sheets. "Ethan," he said, voice rough like sandpaper. "Martin," I replied. I couldn't bring myself to say Dad. That word still had too much weight. He laughed a little, like I caught him off guard. "Fair enough." The silence after that was unbearable. He motioned to the chair next to the bed, and I sat. He looked at me like he was memorizing me. His eyes, same shape as mine, were sunken, yellowed. But there was recognition there. Sadness, too. "I deserve your hate," he said quietly. "I know that." I didn't say anything. Not yet. I wanted to hear what he would say first. No prompting. No rescue. "I was a coward," he continued. "I left because I couldn't handle being a failure. I lost my job. I was drinking too much. I felt like I was suffocating, and instead of being a man and fighting through it, I ran. I blinked. That was it? That was the answer? You ruined our lives," I said flatly. "Do you even understand what you did to Mom? To Jamie? To me?" "I do now," he whispered. "Every single day since I left. I've regretted it." I wanted to believe him. But belief is expensive when you've been robbed of your childhood. "I used to wait by the window," I said, my voice cracking for the first time. "I'd watch every car that drove by. I thought maybe you'd come back. Thought maybe you forgot your keys or your wallet or something. But you never came." His face crumpled. But I didn't feel better seeing him hurt. That's the thing they don't tell you about vengeance. It doesn't fix grief. It just sits beside it. He asked about Jamie. I told him not to bother. Jamie didn't want to hear his name, much less speak to him. "I figured," he muttered. Then he reached into the drawer beside his bed and pulled out a weathered envelope. "I wrote something. If you want to read it later." I didn't take it. Not yet. He started coughing, horrible, deep hacking that sounded like it came from his bones. A nurse came in and gave him something, told me he'd probably be asleep soon. I stood up, ready to leave. "Ethan," he rasped. "Thank you for coming. Even if you never come again. Thank you." I looked at him. Really looked. And I said, "I didn't come for you. I came for me." Then I walked out. The drive home was silent. No music. No podcast. Just me and the low hum of the tires on the road. I didn't cry. I thought maybe I would, but nothing came. Just this weird hollowness. Like my body hadn't decided how to process what had just happened. Martin, I still couldn't call him Dad, looked like a dying man. Because he was. But what made it worse wasn't the illness. It was that I saw regret in his face. Raw, unfiltered regret. And somehow, that made it harder. I walked into our apartment and found Nina curled up on the couch with a book. She looked up, searched my face, and quietly asked, "You okay?" I shrugged. Then, for the first time in what felt like hours, I spoke. "He wrote me a letter." She closed her book. "Are you going to read it?" I didn't answer. I didn't sleep well that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the bags under his. The way his voice cracked when he said Jamie's name. The stupid envelope sitting on my nightstand like a time bomb. The next morning, I called Mom. When I told her I went through with it, she went quiet. Then she asked, "Did it help?" "Not really," I said. "Did it hurt?" "Yeah." "Then it was probably worth doing," she replied. Pain has a way of carving out space. For healing. For understanding. Even if we don't like what we find in the process. That was such a mom thing to say. Later that day, Jamie called. Somehow he'd heard I went. Probably from Mom. He didn't yell. He didn't scold me. He just said, "So you really went to see that bastard?" I did. Why? I needed to. He was quiet for a moment. He ever ask about me? Yeah. First thing he did. Jamie exhaled sharply through his nose. Like that alone made him angry. Tell him to forget I exist. He gave that right up. Click. He hung up. I couldn't blame him. Jamie had been so young when Martin left. He didn't just lose a father, he never had one. I tried to fill that role as best I could, but I knew I could never make up for the real thing. That night, after Nina fell asleep, I sat at the edge of the bed and stared at the letter. My fingers hovered over the envelope. I didn't want to open it, but I also knew it would haunt me if I didn't. So I did. It wasn't long. Just a page, maybe 200 words. But it hit harder than I expected. He didn't beg. He didn't make excuses. He just told the truth. Or what he claimed was the truth. He talked about losing his job, how the pressure of providing for us started eating him alive, how he started drinking secretly, feeling more like a failure with every missed bill, every late night Mom had to pull at the diner, how he used to sit in the car in the driveway and cry before walking in the house. And one day, he just drove off and never came back. "I knew you'd hate me," the letter said, "and I deserved it. But every birthday, every milestone I wasn't there for, I kept a photo. I kept track. I saw your college photo online. I saw the post about your engagement. I've been watching from a distance. Not like a stalker, just like someone who didn't have the right to be close." Then came the part one wasn't ready for. "I wrote this letter because I don't know if I'll be coherent the next time you come. I don't know if you'll come at all. But if you do, and if there's even 1% of your heart that can let me say it, I just want you to hear it once. I'm sorry. I'm proud of you. And I love you." I sat there for a long time, staring at those last 3 sentences. Sorry. Proud of you. Love you. Words I hadn't heard from him in over 15 years. Words I didn't know if I wanted, or needed, or could even believe. I didn't cry, but I folded the letter back up and slid it into the drawer of my nightstand. Not to forget, but not ready to let it go either. A week passed. Martin didn't call. I assumed he was either too weak or too embarrassed. Maybe both. Then I got a message from the hospice nurse. He was fading fast. "Maybe a few days left," she said. "He keeps asking if you're coming back." I didn't know what to say. I told her I'd think about it. Then I sat on the edge of my bed again and stared into the dark. Why was this so complicated? Why did a man who abandoned me still have this much power over my emotions? I talked to Nina about it. She didn't push. She just listened. That's why I love her. She lets me be broken without trying to glue me back together. "You don't have to go," she said. "But if you think you'll wake up 10 years from now wondering what he would have said if you showed up, maybe that's your answer." And that's the thing, isn't it? It's not about him anymore. It's about whether I want to live the rest of my life wondering what would have happened if I walked through that door one more time. I went back. Not because I forgave him. Not because I felt obligated. But because I was tired of carrying a ghost on my shoulders. I needed to face the man one last time, before the questions swallowed me whole. It was a rainy Wednesday when I pulled into the hospice parking lot again. The sky was a dull gray, and the smell of wet pavement filled the air. I remember thinking how fitting it all was. No sunshine. No sense of peace. Just a grim stillness. Room 114. The door was closed this time. I knocked softly before opening it. He was awake, but barely. Thinner. Paler. His lips were cracked, his eyes heavy. When he saw me, something lit up in his face. Something like disbelief mixed with desperate gratitude. "You came back," he rasped, voice barely above a whisper. "I came for answers," I said. He nodded, slowly. "You deserve them." I sat in the same chair as before. The silence stretched between us like a tightrope. Then I finally asked the one question I had carried for most of my life. "Why didn't you come back?" He closed his eyes. "Because I was afraid that if I did, you'd look at me the way you're looking at me right now. That pissed me off. So you let fear be more important than your family? Than your kids? Than Mom?" He coughed, deep, painful. A nurse peeked in and asked if he was okay. He waved her off. I thought disappearing would spare you, he said. I figured you'd hate me less if I was just gone. That's not how it works, I snapped. You weren't a ghost. You were a hole we could never fill. Then he said something that made my stomach twist. I used to park down the block on your birthdays. I saw Jamie riding a bike once. He had your old helmet on. It crushed me. I stared at him. Why would you do that? Why come that close and not say anything? He turned his head slowly, eyes rimmed red. Because I didn't know if I was a poison or a cure anymore. That shut me up. For a while, neither of us spoke. I stared at the floor, chewing my lip raw. He laid there, wheezing softly, every breath a struggle. Then he said it. There's something else I have to tell you. My stomach dropped. The tone of his voice, it wasn't just confession. It was confessional. The kind people say right before they die. I didn't just leave because I was scared or broke. I left because I was trying to protect you. I looked at him sharply. Protect us from what? He hesitated. His fingers gripped the blanket like he was holding back a wave. There were people after me. People I owed money to. A lot of it. I made some bad choices back then, real bad. I was mixed up with the wrong people. I was getting threats. Not just to me, but to your mom. To you, Jamie. That hit me like a slap. I stared at him, trying to read his face. Was this another excuse? A last-ditch rewrite of the story to paint himself as the tragic hero? I didn't think they'd actually do anything at first, he continued. Until one night, someone left a dead rat on our porch, wrapped in your baby blanket, with a note that said, "Next time it won't be a rat." I felt sick. You never told Mom, I said, horrified. He shook his head. She would have never let me leave. And I couldn't risk it. So I disappeared. Went underground. Cut all ties. Burned bridges. Everything. Why didn't you tell me this before? Because I didn't want your memory of me to be tied to crime and cowardice. Too late for that, I muttered. But deep down, part of me shifted. If he was telling the truth, then his absence, while unforgivable, wasn't born only of weakness. It was fear, misguided protection. Still a betrayal, yes, but not the simple selfishness I always thought. I didn't know what to say. He turned his head to the window. Rain was still tapping against the glass like quiet applause. I didn't ask you to come here to fix anything, he said. I didn't want to die without owning up, without looking you in the eye and saying I'm sorry. There it was again. I'm sorry. I didn't respond. I couldn't. My throat felt like it was glued shut. He reached out, hand trembling. I looked at it for a moment, then took it. Just for a second. His hand was cold. I don't want you to carry my shadow with you, he whispered. You've already carried it long enough. And just like that, his breathing slowed. His eyes closed. His grip loosened. He didn't die then, not yet. But something in the air told me it wouldn't be long. I stood up, my legs shaking. I turned to leave, but before I reached the door, he said one last thing. Tell Jamie I understand. And I don't blame him. Then I left. I didn't look back. Martin died 3 days after my last visit. A nurse called me early in the morning, her voice soft, rehearsed, like someone who's made this call too many times. He passed peacefully, she said, in his sleep. I just nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Would you like to collect his things? I paused. No. Burn them, donate them, whatever. Just don't send them to me. She understood. I hung up and just sat there on the edge of the bed, staring into the blur of morning light bleeding through the window. I didn't feel relief. I didn't feel grief. I felt still. Later that day, I told Jamie. He's gone, I said. Jamie didn't react at first. Then he shrugged. Good, he muttered. One less lie walking the earth. I didn't push it. I knew better than to try to change his feelings. His pain was his own, carved in a deeper place than even I could reach. He didn't ask what Martin said. I didn't offer. Mom took it in quiet stride. She didn't say much either, just gave me a long hug when I stopped by that evening. The kind of hug that didn't need words. The kind that says, you did what you had to do. For a while, I didn't talk about it. Not to Nina, not to anyone. The whole experience sat inside me like a stone I couldn't digest. And then one night, out of nowhere, I opened that drawer and reread the letter. It didn't hit any differently the second time. Still messy, still sad, but I understood something I hadn't before. The apology wasn't for redemption. It was for release. Not for him. For me. He didn't die my hero. He didn't die my father, really. But he did die as a man who finally, at the very end, stopped running. And that counts for something. A few months later, Nina and I got married. Small ceremony, Backyard, string lights, just close family and friends. Jamie gave the best man speech. Mostly jokes, a few digs at my expense, and one subtle nod to how being your own dad growing up must have trained me for husbandhood. He didn't mention Martin by name, but I could tell he felt something shifting, too. I kept the letter. Still in the drawer. I don't look at it often, but I haven't thrown it away either. I think part of me knows that the past doesn't vanish just because the person is gone. We carry it. The good, the awful, the unanswered. But what I've learned, the real, raw thing I took away from all this, is that we can decide how much of it we keep holding. Some days, I hate him still. Other days, I mourn what could have been. And some days, I just live, without trying to solve it, without trying to forgive it. Just live. I think that's what healing looks like, sometimes. Not a perfect ending, not a grand gesture. Just waking up one day and realizing the shadow doesn't feel as heavy. I'll never know if Martin told the full truth. I'll never know what parts of the story he left out to make himself look better, or worse, or more tragic. But I do know this. He didn't get to write the final chapter of my life. I did, and I'm still writing it.